that they could look for?
Yeah, it depends on which arena you want to look at. Speaking is, if you want to write a book, there are 1,000 people out there with programs saying, I'll help you write your book in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I saw one that said 47 minutes the other day. For me, the stuff that I write is not so well laid out ahead of time. Mm-hmm. It tends to be a little bit more, not stream of consciousness. So it's a little more difficult for me to go that route. But certainly if you know what you want to say and you're really clear on that, then you can get your book written in a weekend. Speaking is another thing. If you want to be a good speaker, there are, Meetup is a great resource. There are speaking groups all over the place if you just look for them. Mm-hmm. And most of them, in my experience, are free or very near to free. Toastmasters is a great resource. All you got to do is look. It's like anything else. Once you start looking, and today we have the internet, and
Sure.
The world is open to us now. You can find stuff in an instant. When I was a little younger, you ended up, your resource was the library, and they may or may not be able to help you much.
That's true. That's true, and the internet has changed a lot of that for us.
Yeah, but you just have to look, and then you have to actually, I'm an introvert, and so I'm not driven to go out and meet people and be the center of attention and all that. So for me, it's a step outside the comfort zone to attend one of these things. But once you do it once or twice, you find out that it's not going to kill you, and they can be kind of fun, and the people are nice and all of that, and all the concerns that you had tend to start fading away.
No, very true. Very true. Yeah, I tend to be a little bit more of an introvert too. And so, getting out and putting myself into a public space is uncomfortable. But, as that saying goes, success doesn't happen in your comfort zone. So I have to remind myself of that you have to get uncomfortable in order to get successful.
Yep. Well, can I comment on that? Because it's when people say that, a lot of the times my experience has been that what people on the other end hear is you got to get comfortable with being really uncomfortable. And the reality is you don't. Because your comfort zone, if you think of like your living room is your comfort zone, outside your comfort zone can be just opening that front door and stepping one step out. And so you can be within arm's reach of your comfort zone and have your world change. But I think it's the same as with the message of go out there and people want to inspire people to go change the world. You don't have to do huge things, because a lot of us get that message and we just think it's too much for me. I'm going to go curl up and go back to bed. You don't have to do huge things to make an impact.
That's true. That's very true. So as far as our value systems and how we incorporate that into what we're doing, how is that something that you have accomplished as far as your personal values or beliefs, and then what you do in business?
How much time do we have? I can basically, I spent about 20 years in the computer support industry, and the whole time working as a contractor, which for anybody who doesn't know, just basically means that you're paid by essentially a staffing agency, but you supply services to somebody else. And I was almost 15 years on the job in one spot, working for New York Life insurance company. And I got a phone call one day from my rep, and they said to tell you today's your last day, go home. And it was completely unexpected and unplanned for. And so I went from a good job and good money to nothing in moments, literally with a 2-minute phone call. And so then I didn't work again for 2 years. And what didn't happen to me was I didn't go through what the quote unquote experts say is supposed to happen. I didn't go into depression. I didn't start questioning whether I had any value in the world. I didn't question, well, if I'm not this, then what am I? None of that stuff happened to me. And then when I became aware of that, then you have to ask, well, why not? And it just pointed back to my mother had been looking for answers for things all her life, and she shared a lot of what she was checking out with me when I was a kid. And so I consumed these things from people like Wayne Dyer and Zig Ziglar and a lot of names that people would recognize. Mm-hmm. But I took it in because it was interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And I had the advantage that at that age, I didn't have the resistance to, if they said, well, you're responsible for where you are in life because of the decisions that you made and the actions that you took. Mm-hmm. I didn't have resistance to that. I took that on and said, well, that makes perfect sense. Okay. And I don't remember putting particular effort into changing anything. But over time, when I lost this job without warning, I realized that this had kicked in and saved me from feeling like I was victimized by, the universe. And sure. When I look back, I set it up. And so if you have that perspective, then you don't have the sort of the pain, the pain and anxiety that you normally might. So I don't know how far that goes to answering your question.
Yeah. So what's something that maybe earlier in your life that you wish you had done and didn't do? Is there anything that comes to mind?
That I had done and didn't do?
Yeah, something you wish you had done earlier that you didn't do. That.
Okay. You were breaking up a little when you asked.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's just not a lot, I think. When I was in high school, I loved football, and I was fast and I had good hands, and I couldn't necessarily throw it all that far, but I could catch and I had moves and all that. And I wish that I had gone to the tryouts for the high school team because I could have made it. But some friends and I went up and we found out they had already started practicing, and it was summer in Chicago, August. And we went up to the high school and we saw the guys out there and what they were doing in full pads in 90-degree heat and 100% humidity. And we just kind of said, oh, that's nice. Let's go home. I wish I had not done that. I wish I had gone forward and done it because it would have been a lot of fun. I'd have probably been snapped in two if I'd ever made it into college or the NFL, but it's not that big. But it would have been fun.
Yeah. So as far as business hurdles and struggles that you've gone through, what are some of those? You mentioned some of that as far as with the career at New York Life and then that ending. What are maybe some additional hurdles that you faced, and how did you deal with those?
The biggest thing I've had to deal with is, the losing that job and then having this realization of why I didn't suffer from it was the thing that made me want to go out and talk about it. Because prior to that, it just was there, but I wasn't consciously aware of it. And so when I started to do that, it was, okay, who am I going to talk to and exactly what's my message? And I come from the south side of Chicago, which is a hugely blue-collar part of the world. And even though I haven't done that kind of work in a long time, I still relate to those guys, and they really, really need these ideas presented to them because it's just not something that's on the radar. And then, you have other people talking to you about this and that, but what about this? And so it kind of shifts the target audience has kind of shifted for me and gone around to different people. And then it was, well, how am I doing this? Am I going to be a coach? Am I going to do, what am I doing? And it's taken a long time to kind of sort that out. My website still says that I'm a life coach, and I need to, maybe after we get done with this conversation, I'll go take that off of there because it's really not something. I've just made the decision I'm not going to do that. going a different route with it. So figuring out the audience, figuring out I know essentially what the message is, but figuring out the platform for delivery has been a challenge. Those are the two biggies.
Okay. Now, with those challenges, were they obvious to you, or have you kind of stumbled upon discovering that?
They're obvious. They're obvious once you start to think about them, I guess. This is for me. I don't know. I didn't. I just felt like other people need to hear this stuff. I'm not the only person who has these challenges, and I know that other people are not hearing it, and so I just want to share it. But I wasn't immediately clear on who I'm going to talk to.
Okay.
And so that's it's and the more I just as I said, the more I thought about it, and the more I talked with different people who had different input, and the more it changed. And so I think I'm pretty well targeted right now, but it just was not it was not instantly clear.
Sure. So is there perhaps another profession that you've toyed with going into other than what you're doing currently? And if so, what is that?
No, not since I started down this path. Okay. It's I'm easily, I've got shiny object syndrome, and I'm easily distracted on things, but these are two topics, the law of attraction and personal growth, that still are plenty shiny, and I never get tired of talking about them. I've got a podcast with a friend of mine, and we jump straight in sometimes to the deep end of some of these topics, and it never gets old. So to this point, I haven't had any second thoughts about another direction.
Okay, and what would you say maybe one of your greatest strengths is that drives you in what you do?
I'm a pretty good teacher, I think. Other people have told me that, but also I know, if I present an idea in some way and the person on the other end isn't getting it, I can back up and give it to them in a different way, maybe 2 or 3 times. I know people who they try to tell you something and you just tell them, I don't understand. They just give it to you exact same way again and again and again.
Right.
So that's one. I don't like to blow smoke at anybody. Honestly, there's an audience for everybody. If you've got a message, I don't worry about whether or not the person I'm talking to is really going to get it. They're either, my audience, or they're not. And I'm okay with that. And you're just not going to be the right person for everybody. So that's one thing that sometimes is really hard to let go of, is you want to be able to talk to everybody, and everybody needs this. Well, yeah, sure. But everybody's not going to resonate with your message or your delivery of it, or the words that you use, or the shirt you're wearing, or something, So, or maybe it's just the wrong time in life for them.
Mm-hmm. And that's a valuable point that you're mentioning there, because a lot of people, especially when they're starting out in their business, they try to please everyone, or they try to do business with everyone, and your market is not going to be every single person you come across. And even when you're introducing yourself and they're asking, so what kind of person are you looking for? You don't want to say, well, anybody that's a warm body, because that's not really, we can't help everyone. There's not enough hours in the day. And so, it's most appropriate to help people that are going to benefit from what you can do.
Right.
What would you say is your greatest weakness, though, Tim?
Focus, or lack of. I have a difficult time a lot of times sort of shutting down the monkey mind. If I get